Welcome once again to the Icons. I'm your host, the sports professor, Rick Horrow. This month, an interview with an Olympian, an NBA standout, a businessman, and a politician. Our Icon 11-year NBA veteran, Tom McMillen. Let's kick things off by going inside the Icon. Tom McMillen was born in Elmira, New York in 1952 and raised in Mansfield, Pennsylvania. He was the top-rated high school basketball player in the nation in 1970, committing to play for Lefty Driesell at Maryland. And President Nixon appointed him to the President's Council on Physical Fitness while in high school, becoming the youngest appointee in history. McMillen was a three-time All-American, academic All-American, and the first Maryland student to be awarded a Rhodes Scholarship. He received his master's degree at Oxford. In 1972, McMillen played for the U.S. Olympic men's basketball team that was robbed of a gold medal, one of the most controversial moments in Olympic Games history. He played 11 seasons in the NBA for the Buffalo Braves, Knicks, Hawks, and Bullets. McMillen retired from the NBA to pursue a career in politics, serving in Congress from 1987 till 1993. He was again appointed co-chair of the President's Council on Physical Fitness and Sports by President Bill Clinton in 1993. McMillen is currently the president and CEO of LEAD1 Association, representing athletic directors and programs in college football bowl subdivision.
I actually ran for Congress when I was in the NBA. No one's ever done that. No one ever will. And I ended the season in May and I was elected in November. So my calendar was pretty full. And then, of course, when you get in Congress, you're busy as a hoot. But, I can only say when I was playing sports, I tried to maximize my time and to get the most out of it. So I was able to finish my Oxford degree and get ready to run for Congress. I mean, I spent years preparing to run for Congress. I just didn't all of a sudden announce. I spent years running around the district, getting to know people. Matter of fact, one of the interesting things, I was playing for the Atlanta Hawks. I had bought a home in Maryland, which is where I went to school, in a district that was held by a Republican. And I bought a house there because a former governor told me that was smart thing to do. And I would come up there in the summers, but I was playing for the Atlanta Hawks and I knew I had to get up to Washington. So I went to the owner of the Hawks, Ted Turner. I said, Ted, will you trade me to Washington so I can run for Congress? And he did. And 3 years later, I was a congressman.
I was going to ask you in my notes if the Washington Bullets 3 years was congressional prep. So you and Lamar Jackson demanded trades. So is that where the similarity ends?
It is. It was funny. I went to Ted, who was larger than life. And I never thought he'd do it, but he did it. And then years later, when we had a cable bill on the floor of the Congress, and I was on a very important committee involving cable TV, he reminded me that he wanted my vote and that I wouldn't be there without him. And it's so very true.
Well, and not too many people in the traditional lobbying sense could tell that story and have enough leverage to make that stick. That's interesting. Let's go back a couple of minutes after your University of Maryland career, and you're in 72 in the Olympics. Was that, so let me ask you this way. If somebody showed up at your house, some nice little kid, in an Alexander Beloff costume, would you give him candy or throw him out?
Very good question. I would probably give him candy and want to talk to him about it.
Why are you wearing this costume? What's wrong with you? And in all seriousness, for people that don't know what we're talking about, the 72 gold medal and the controversy surrounding it, and just give me your perspective about it. Is that the most disappointing moment of your career, broadly defined?
I think so. It was the most controversial Olympic game, I think, of all time. I mean, it was played in the middle of the Cold War. The Soviet Union, U.S. were really at arms. And here we have a basketball game in the middle of it. It would be very typical if Russia and the U.S. were playing a game right now. You'd understand the stakes. And America had never lost. We had won since 1936. And here we have a very young team true amateurs playing against the Soviet team, they're pros. And we come from behind and we end up winning the game with 2 free throws. And the whole system keeps resetting the clock. 3 times, only on the 3rd time did the Soviets finally win. And we refuse to accept the silver medal. To this day, we don't have our silver medals.
Well, and there's an interesting story, and people feel it. I guess it was, it's now 51 years, and you would remember kind of every moment of that, I assume.
You do, because remember, 5 days before, the Israeli athletes were murdered in an unbelievable terrorist attack on the village. I mean, terrorism didn't exist back then. And to have it come into an Olympic village, what was sort of a sacred place for sports, was so surreal that it magnified the craziness of our basketball game. I took the Rhodes Scholarship. I ended up going to Oxford and studying. I played Italy twice a week. I was commuting all night long, playing basketball there. I played 50-some games in Italy.
I got goosebumps from that.
Did you know you can see exclusive content, features, and interviews not featured on The Card Life by following The Card Life TV on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube.
All right, so let's fast forward to 74 to 86, and we'll kind of lump them because those were your NBA years with the Braves, drafted by the Braves, and the Knicks and the Hawks and the Bullets, and then you with a little side stop in Italy. 5,914 points. You probably should have scored more. Do you remember every point?
Yeah. Well, you remember I was drafted first round in the NBA, and I mean, I can't even imagine doing this today, but the owner of the Buffalo Braves was from my hometown, so he indulged me. I took the Rhodes Scholarship. I ended up going to Oxford and studying. I played Italy twice a week. I was commuting all night long, playing basketball there. I played 50-some games in Italy. And my attorney came over and said, Tom, you got to give up your second year of the Rhodes because the NBA and ABA are going to merge. It's going to cost you $1 million. You got to come back. I said, I don't want to come back. I don't want to give up my Rhodes. So I went to see the head of the Rhodes Scholarship program over there, an Englishman. And I said, I want to come back in the summer terms, in 3 summer terms, finish my second year. And he said, absolutely not. We don't make exceptions, whether you're American or not. And so I was really caught in this decision, give up my Rhodes or come back to the NBA. And then I somehow found out that Cecil Rhodes, the founder of the Rhodes Scholarship, had only gone to Oxford in the summer terms. He was making money in South Africa. So I went back to the Rhodes officials and said, how can you deny me what our founder did? And they approved it on the spot. And for 3 NBA seasons, I flew back to Oxford.
The McMillen caveat to the Rhodes Scholarship rule. By the way, the other missing piece of this is you were drafted by the Squires simultaneously. Would you have played with Dr. J if you went to the Squires, or am I off on history?
I think I'm just trying to think. That would have been, if I would have gone right into the pros, the answer is yes. But the merger occurred right after. So when I came into the league, I think the merger had occurred. But yes, if I had gone right from college, that would have been the case. 70-some% of our kids today of military age eligibility are unfit to serve. I mean, this is a national security issue.
Has the President's Council on Physical Fitness and Sports evolved positively today? Where is it as far as youth sports, obesity, all of the issues that President Clinton emphasized and mandated when he appointed you as co-chair?
I think it's really deteriorated, sadly.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, I was appointed by Richard Nixon as the youngest member of the President's Council. When I was 17 years old, I'm still the youngest presidential appointee ever, I believe. And back then, it was really a big thing. We would go to the White House, and it was a very big show. You had John Kennedy and the 50-mile hikes. I mean, fitness was very important.
The Nixon appointment didn't disqualify you, just as an aside?
Well, on Nixon, because of the cover, go back to the cover of Sports Illustrated. That's why they saw me, and they invited me in here. So I'm appointed as a member by Nixon and appointed a chair by Clinton. So that's kind of an interesting dichotomy. But here's the thing: 70-some% of our kids today of military age eligibility are unfit to serve. I mean, this is a national security issue. When the council was formed by Eisenhower in the 50s, it was a direct result from post-World War II. We had gotten out of shape, and he was very worried. Eisenhower was worried about our readiness as a nation. Well, we are right there again, and we are going to have to do something on a national basis on this, because when 70-some% of your youth can't even serve in the military because of fitness or drugs or something, you've got national security issues.
So let's conclude a bunch of these questions relative to Knight Commission, your Out of Bounds book, and LEAD, which started as the D1 Director Association, is now you're the chairman and have been, which, as people should know, is effectively the trade association of all Division I college athletics. How is your mandate changed over time, especially with the Supreme Court decision on gaming and NIL?
Well, it's just not the Supreme Court, it's all courts. I mean, we are moving towards this world of semi-professionalism on college campuses, and it's concerning. You know, the cat was out of the bag when we started paying coaches $1 million in the 90s when I was in Congress, and then now it's just gone, you know, on one side way up, and now the players are demanding an equal parity to that. And I mean, I don't know how you put this back into some order, because remember, here we're the only nation in the world that has active sports betting on campuses. In other words, people are betting on college events. That doesn't occur anywhere in the world. And we have this growing professionalism. And I worry about it because I think that, you know, college sports, the distinction of college sports is that kids are getting an education. And by the way, that's 95% of the kids in college sports. Whether they're lacrosse or they're swimmers or they're baseball players. We tend to look at basketball and football because they are so highly commercialized and think that that's the whole brush that we should paint college sports with, but it's not. College sports is really about getting an education, being a scholar athlete, and we have to stay true to that vision. 90+% of the deals are not publicity rights. They are recruiting inducements or stay here because we want to keep you here. They are sort of unrelated to publicity rights.
Oh my goodness, that is a Tom Brady autograph. Oh my, 1 of 1 diamond LaMelo Ball rookie. That's a hit. Wow, that's a big card, guys. Oh, quarterback, Joey Burrow. Yes, please, out of the first box. Oh, sick. Mike Trout, on-card autograph, 9.5, autograph grade 10.
I got goosebumps from that.
Did you know you can see exclusive content, features, and interviews not featured on the Card Life by following the Card Life TV on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube.
PristineAuction.com. It's baseball stuff, it's basketball, it's wrestling, it's Marvel stuff.
Tatis, Patrick Mahomes, Wayne Gretzky, LeBron James, autographed Nike Adidas jersey, Mookie Betts, Muhammad Ali.
Personal favorite thing on the site are the 10-minute auctions. You can bid on the item for only 10 minutes. Highest bidder wins.
It's free to register, free to bid. Sign up today, PristineAuction.com.
How do you take the $2 billion of NIL expectations over time and, as a governing body, deal with the parameters that should have been created by the NCAA and find some way to guarantee equal revenue distribution, make sure the haves and the have-nots somehow find parity, make sure dollars are distributed around all sports and all divisions? That's 48 questions, but I wanted you to free flow on the whole.
Well, it's a lot. You know, I was successful in passing a bill with Bill Bradley and Ed Towns. I was in Congress requiring graduation rates to be disclosed. Very simple thing, but it was not easy to do. There's only been 2 or 3 bills related to college sports passed in the last 40, 50 years. It's not easy. And the fact is, I mean, there is this spiraling move towards employment commercialism, professionalism on college campuses. And I don't know how you slow that train down. I think usually what happens is there's a scandal, something goes wrong, some kids led astray, there's a sports betting scandal or something. And usually people start to reevaluate. These are institutions of higher learning. How do we balance this? And that's just generally how the pendulum works.
Well, and it's your organization, and you have an opportunity to bestow the good housekeeping seal of approval on all D1 athletics, which is obviously easier said than done. Do you attempt to create a kind of an NAL template, a structure, get some governance, and then have it trickle down? Do you just make awareness statements about the issue? What's your leadership style on this issue?
Well, obviously, the fact is that 30 states have passed laws in this. Whenever you get in those situations where there's states that are passing conflicting laws, you have to often turn to the feds, to Congress to harmonize it, to streamline it. And unfortunately, that's kind of where we are right now. It's hard to have a national enterprise when every state's doing their own thing. But here's the thing. Publicity rights are really innate to an individual. You should be able to sell your publicity right. What we're talking about here, 90+ % of the deals are not publicity rights. They are recruiting inducements or stay here because we want to keep you here. They are sort of unrelated to publicity rights. When I was in the NBA, I was lucky if I got a car deal. I mean, you look at the NBA today, most players don't have publicity right deals. Very few. And here we see, every player on a football team getting one. So there is a disconnect between publicity rights, which we all agree should occur, and what's happening today. And that's going to either require the NCAA to take some stands, or it's going to require Congress to step up.
Do you think collectives are the answer if appropriately governed? I guess there are 204 collectives that are now created to quote unquote assist athletic departments in reaching out to the kids. What's your thought and vision on that?
Well, I from the very beginning, I thought that was a mistake. The NFL and NBA would never allow third-party entities to control or to be so involved with their number one asset, which is their players. I mean, these entities ought to be under the supervision of the school. I mean, just the way it is. I mean, the school has compliance departments. They have all kinds of tools to make sure things are done right, protect the kids. And I think that one of the problems in college sports is that you have some collectives. Some are good, some are not so good. Some of the folks that are in the collectives, probably the athletic department wouldn't even hire them. And so you have this mishmash of standards out there, which is not really, really helpful for the industry. And one of the things that NIL has done is created longevity for kids to stay in college. Great, that's fabulous. And when they do that, they come together, they gel together much better than the one and done teams that come in and try to win championships in a kind of a made up team.
I got goosebumps from that.
Did you know you can see exclusive content, features, and interviews not featured on The Card Life by following The Card Life TV on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube?
what's your thought about where the whole NIL world will lead to college basketball and football, quote unquote, parity down the road?
Well, I think the second part of your statement was true. Basketball players, you don't need to have a lot of players, great players on a basketball team. You need a team. And one of the things that NIL has done is created longevity for kids to stay in college. Great. That's fabulous. And when they do that, they come together, they gel together much better than the one and done teams that come in and try to win championships in a kind of a made up team. And so I think that's a positive thing. NIL can be a tool and should be used a tool to keep kids in college. And so one of the things that's happening in basketball is that will increase parity because there'll be kids that will stay longer. And obviously COVID giving kids an extra year has helped that. In football, it's a little more difficult because it's such a big sport and, it's hard, and generally resources make a difference in football. So we'll have to wait and see. Clearly in basketball, it has had a balancing effect.
All right, finally, some quick McMillen perceptions. First of all, we just talked about it a little bit relative to NIL. Some would say you were born 50 years too early relative to all these economics. Do you agree?
Well, I'd love to be playing today. I was a pretty good shooter. I would have loved to have the 3-point shot. So, unfortunately, that's not in the cards.
Yeah, all right. Well, very well played. There's nothing to say about that. Second, do you find the NBA or Congress harder with more pressure?
I think being a pro athlete, first of all, it's a great life. You travel, you make a lot of money, you get your name in the newspaper once in a while. Not too many people scream and yell at you. Congress is a very high pressurized environment, particularly around election time. So, but I mean, they're very different. I can't say that both have pressure. I would say being an NBA player is more fun because you're young, you're exercising, you're traveling, you're seeing the world, you're getting your name in the paper, you make a lot of money, you have some good friends. So Congress is a much tougher business, much tougher today than when I was there.
Third, and you can only choose one. So no hemming or hawing on this one. I know you're a politician. You get to win and get possession of the gold medal in 72, or you beat Wayne Gilchrist in that redistricted election in 92, or you beat Tom Burleson in the ACC championship in 74. Which one do you want?
I think probably the 72. If we would be declared the victory, that would be historic. If I had to answer quickly, that would be it.
Where is college sports in 5 years?
College sports in 5 years, I think that it will become obviously more commercialized. There's going to have to be a national reevaluation of the role of college sports on college campuses. And will that happen within 5 years? Probably not, but I think the beginning of that will be occurring.